Today, I'm going to talk about my marriage story full of laughter and anger. So please listen to me. My name is Ella. I'm 27 years old. I work in the fashion industry. I met my boyfriend James, who is 5 years older than me, at a local marriage activity party. Why did I go to this party? My friend had just broken up with her boyfriend. She asked me to come with her. I didn't care if I got married or not, so I thought I'd just drink and eat and go home. But then, James approached me. He contacted me as soon as we were connected on social media. When I met him, he praised me highly. I was comfortable with him. I was used to dating cool guys, so his direct reaction was something new for me. And we ended up going out. Well, in short, I was flattered by him. We both lived alone. Soon, we were going back and forth to each other's houses. The more time we spent together, the closer we got. And he began to show little by little his true self. But at that time, I didn't notice that anything he said or did was strange or that something was wrong with his behavior. The one thing that sticks out in my mind is when he was taking a bath, there was an incoming call on his phone. The screen lit up, and when I looked at it, I saw the word Kansas. He came back from his bath. I asked him, "Who is Kansas?" He said, my boss. I've recently been transferred, so I've forgotten who she is." He answered with some impatience. She has an unusual name, doesn't she?"
"Oh yes, that's right. It's something like, some country name."
I wondered what he was in such a hurry for, but I didn't question it that much, so I didn't pursue it any further. I didn't know that this was a harbinger of terrible things to come. Looking back, other strange things happened too. The day after he stayed at my place, I borrowed his car to go to grocery shopping. His car was easier to maneuver in the supermarket, so we used to use his car. After breakfast, he went back to bed to get a nap because he was tired from working overtime the day before. I decided to go alone. I got into his car and operated the car navigation system to check traffic jams. It showed a history of directions to my house from an unknown location. He said he worked late at the office and came straight to my house. It is almost a straight road from his office to my house. The place where he left according to the car navigation was the opposite direction from his office. But I was carefree. I thought he was checking out the place where he was going to go for business. I took it as a good thing. But there was also a hidden reason behind the incident. We continued our relationship, and he proposed to me. I had no reason to refuse. I was in love with him at the time, so I accepted his proposal, and we were preparing to get married. On our anniversary, 1 year after we started dating, we booked a wedding venue and proceeded with all the arrangements. It wasn't a fancy ceremony, but the preparation for the wedding was still very exciting. The first time I tried on a wedding dress, I was so happy and excited. The guests were only my closest friends and family. My parents, my sister, and a few relatives. James' parents had passed away, so his aunts, uncles, and cousins were going to attend. Preparations were progressing steadily. All we had to do was to wait for the ceremony. But a week before the wedding, he started to say some strange things.
"I'm feeling kind of sick. What if I collapse on the wedding day? The weather forecast is for rain on the day of the wedding. Do you think it's safe to hold the ceremony?"
Honestly, I thought what the hell is he talking about? What the hell is he thinking? If you're not feeling well, take care of yourself. The chapel and the ceremony are both indoors. Rain doesn't matter, right? If you think about the road trip for the attendees, I'd rather have sunshine than rain, of course. but that's not what he's worried about. I let his comments slide. I quietly proceeded with the preparations for the ceremony. And finally, on the day of the wedding, the actual weather betrayed the forecast and we were blessed with clear skies. All the attendees arrived safely. It was a small ceremony with only a few people invited, but I was very happy. It was a nice ceremony and reception. The incident happened at the after party afterward. The after party was attended by my friends from school and colleagues from my current job, and even friends from social media with whom I got closer by talking about fashion. I had a lot of people there. In contrast, his friends were less than half of mine. But he's not from around here. He got transferred by his company, so I thought it was only natural. He took the microphone to greet the start of the after party. He took a deep breath and said loudly,
I'm sorry, I have a wife and child. That's why I can't marry you, Ella.
The room was quiet for a moment, but soon the crowd started to shout in anger. But he told me in no uncertain terms,
I'm sorry. Please forget about this marriage. It never happened. I will return the congratulatory gifts to the people who came to the wedding, and I will pay for the wedding.
He said it just like that. He ran out of the restaurant where the after party was held and never came back. I was surrounded by my friends. They comforted me. They expressed their anger. Some of them even cried for me. Thank you, but don't cry for me. I've asked the restaurant to prepare something delicious for you. Now we should drink and have fun. Let's laugh a lot together. I opened a bottle of champagne with a few of my friends and drank a lot while pouring the champagne. While my friends and I were screaming in desperation, his friends had all disappeared. I mean, the groom said all that stuff and ran off. They couldn't stay here, right? I was convinced like that. But later, it turned out that this wasn't the only reason they left. After the after party, where we laughed a lot and made a lot of noise, I took a cab home by myself. Fortunately, we decided to move into our new house after the wedding, so I could go back to the house I had been living in. We have already signed the contract for the new house we were supposed to live in together, but I need to cancel it. He said we would do the registry of our marriage after the wedding. Maybe it was because he already has a wife. I have to return the congratulatory gift as soon as possible. Who did I leave it with? I had to get in touch with him, so I took my phone. On the screen, he and I have big smiles on our faces. I remember that I had set my wallpaper to a photo of him and me. The lock screen is a picture of our first date. After unlocking the screen, I see a picture of us on our vacation at the beach. I was so happy at that time. As soon as I thought like that, tears filled my eyes. I was finally able to cry when I was alone, whining and crying like a child. My head ached from crying so much, and I began to feel heavy with swollen eyelids. Don't think I'm going to let you get away with this. I will never forgive you. I mumbled in a low voice, with full of anger. After that, my memory was cut off. I must have fallen asleep, as if someone turned my battery off. When I woke up, my head was clear, but my mind was a blur. But I thought it was only natural. I didn't touch my phone for a while, and there was thousands of messages and incoming calls. I first called my parents, who were staying over for the wedding. My parents were informed about the incident of the groom's bombshell via a friend who attended the after party, and they were extremely worried about me. Anyway, I want to reassure everyone I met yesterday. So to those who came to the ceremony and the after party yesterday, I sent a message. I'm okay despite everything that has happened. I have calmed down. I will let you know if there is any further information. After that, I asked my closest friend to come to my house. My best friend knows my personality very well. I wanted to talk to her about what I was going to do. Of course, I'm not going to let that guy get away with this. I won't just ask her for advice on how to harm him more than he already did to me. James' phone was, as expected, disconnected. He must have blocked me or changed his number. First of all, I had to find out whether it was true that he had a wife and a child. I asked my friends who attended the after party. I would like to hire a detective to find out the groom's background. Does anyone have any experience with this kind of things? I sent this kind of message. Then, I got a reply from a colleague at my workplace. She got a connection to a detective agency because her friend used it when she got a divorce. I immediately contacted the detective agency and asked them to investigate. It took them less than a week to find out who James was. As a result, he indeed has a wife and a child. Furthermore, he told me his parents were dead, so that's why he called his close relatives to attend the wedding. But actually, his parents are still alive. They live in the near town where his wife lives. I also found out that he came to my city as a temporary postaway from his family, and that he went back to the house where his wife was waiting for him about twice a month. With all this information, I started to make a move. 3 days later, I got a paid day off. First, I went to James' parents' house. They seemed a bit anxious because a young woman, a stranger, came out of the blue to visit. I got down on my knees in front of his parents, who were wary of my presence. Please, I beg you, I want to marry James no matter what. His parents panicked and asked me what has happened. I showed them the wedding photos and explained briefly what had happened. They wanted to hear the full story, so they let me in the house and I told them everything. I told them that I had met him at the marriage activity party and almost got married. How he dropped a bombshell at the after party of the wedding and ran away. As I was telling the story, I felt like a tragic heroine. I was surprised that I even cried, but I used my tears for my acting as a poor woman. After he disappeared at the after party, I couldn't get in touch with him. Somehow, I only found out where his parents lived, so I just had to barge in like this. Where's James now? Where is he? Can I marry him? And then, his parents looked at each other and said,
I'm sorry, but James indeed has a wife and a child. I didn't hear about their divorce, so I don't think he can marry you.
I exaggeratedly broke down in tears. After that, I said, I understand. I apologize for my behavior. I give up the marriage with James. I pretended to back out and left his parents' house. I left the wedding photo at his parents' house on purpose. I intentionally left it. I wanted his parents to see the evidence of what James had done. When I left their house, the next step was to call his wife. After greeting her politely, I started to explain. I am a woman living in the neighborhood where James lives now. James and I went out, and we even made a promise to marry. Even though I didn't know he was married, I'm sorry for what I did to you, who is his wife. I revealed everything at once. Now, what is her reaction? Would she think it's a prank call? Or would she panic and get angry? His wife's response was neither of them. She took a deep breath. If that is true what you are saying, I would like to meet you and talk with you face to face. She said that in a clear tone of voice. I met her at a cafe a few hours later. His wife was calm and seemed intelligent. We talked for a few hours, but she was not once distraught during that time. We exchanged our contact information for the future and parted ways. About a month later, she contacted me. I got ready with my parents and went to visit them. I went to the parents' house of James' wife, which was just a few minutes away from the house where James and his family lives. The people who gathered there were his wife and her parents, me and my parents, James and his parents. Their child stayed at home and was not with us. We were taken to the guest room, and as everyone took their seats, the discussion began. A gong rings in my brain to announce the start of the fight. Now let the battle begin. James opened his mouth first after being poked by his father.
I'm sorry that you all gathered like this. I apologize. Ella, I'm sorry I couldn't marry you, but I'm not lying about how much I love you, Ella. I love Ella, who is beautiful and healthy.
Then what am I? His wife asks coldly.
I love you, Kansas, too. You take care of me like a mother. You work as a caregiver. That's why you are good at taking care of me.
While he was talking to his wife, I was reminded of a phone call I saw when we were dating. He took advantage of my misunderstanding and just lied that it was his boss's name, but actually, it was his wife's first name. It was a conversation full of lies. That's so ridiculous. James, let me ask you something. You say you love us both, me and your wife, Kansas. But what if you had to choose between us?
I can't do that. That's why we are in this mess. It's called bigamy, right? I didn't realize that marrying two women would be a crime. I wanted to call off the wedding, but I didn't have the courage. I just got scared and ran away.
You say you didn't realize it? No one would agree to that.
That's enough. I can't stand to see you being like this as my son. Take responsibility for what you did.
He slammed his fist on the table and yelled at him. It was his father.
But how do I take responsibility?
He blurted out pathetically. I stepped forward. I was waiting for this moment. Pay me what you owe me first. The wedding and after-party expenses. Instead of pretending the marriage never happened, you said you'd pay for it. And alimony for the emotional and social damage caused by you. I think it would be at least $3 million in total.
What?
Next, it is Kansas' turn. I want a divorce. Of course, since it's your fault, I will ask you to pay alimony and child support. I will never give up custody.
I don't want that kind of divorce. I don't want to be separated from our child. Besides, if something happens to my parents, who is going to take care of them?
Huh? I and Kansas gave the same reaction. But this is a matter of married couple. It's something that should be said by the parties involved. I gestured for Kansas to go ahead and step back. James, if anything happens to your parents, you take care of them. I'm a caregiver, but I didn't get the qualification to take care of your parents. Even if you say you don't want a divorce, I have proof that you cheated on me. I will definitely ask you to divorce me.
Proof?
In front of him, crying and sputtering, I rolled up my arms and stood up in front of him. I'm the one you cheated on her with. I didn't know I was your cheating partner. There is plenty of evidence that you and I almost got married. Besides, you also had other women besides me.
How did you know?
It wasn't me who found out about the affair with the woman he met through a dating app, but the detective who did the background check on him. The detective was following him to check out his home. It just so happened that he saw him going into a hotel with a woman other than his wife. So I asked him to investigate the affair incidentally. You are so sloppy. You went on dating apps and talked to girls. You lied about being single again. Now that I think about it, you even set your car navigation system to take you from a motel to my place. How could you do such a terrible thing? And then you tell us you love us. Who would believe that? Me smugly with my phone in my hand. I feel like a heroine in a movie. He collapsed and mumbled helplessly.
Cheating is just cheating and not something serious. My ex-girlfriend said I could do it as long as I didn't get caught.
That might have been fine with your ex-girlfriend, but it's not the same with me or Kansas. I'm not like that, and neither is she.
Ella and Kansas, you are two very different types. I love you both. I didn't want to break up with one of you.
Unfortunately, we both hate you more than anything in the world. I said it directly and went back to my parents. And once again, I stood in line with my parents to apologize for both to James and Kansas' parents. I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused. I was planning to get married to James. I was very shocked by what happened. But now that you've invited me here, I could say everything I wanted to say to him. I will ask my lawyer to take care of all the alimony matters. I don't think I will see you all again. Even though I didn't know, I'm so sorry for the damage I've done to you and your relationship. I'm truly sorry. And because I didn't have to be there when they discussed their divorce, my parents and I left them alone. When I heard his bombshell at the after party, I felt so gloomy that I thought it was the end of the world. But at this moment, I was in a sunny mood like a blue sky after a typhoon. I took up my phone and sent a message to all the members of the after party. A lot has happened, but it's all over now. The sky is clear. I'm fine. Let's have another drink together soon. I will give you the details then. So, what happened to that lousy guy? He paid me for everything. Maybe his parents took over for him. My best friend and I are relaxing in a room at a luxurious hotel, glasses of wine in hand. We are going on a little getaway when it's all over. That is what she promised me during that incident. I agreed to the plan. Hey Ella, that's not what I meant. I've heard before that you received money from that man. I mean, that guy. Didn't he suffer some kind of punishment or something? I heard he's being hurt enough to deserve what he's done. My friend said with a twinkle in her eye. Tell me more. I told her what I knew. The cost of the wedding, the alimony to me, and the alimony to his wife after their divorce was finalized, and child support. That alone would be quite a lot of money. Plus, he had debts. All of the groom's relatives and friends who came to the ceremony and the after party were all paid agents. Because of the number of people who attended, the bill from the agency was quite a lot. He couldn't pay it with his savings, so he borrowed money from a bank. The address of his parents' house was changed to a rental apartment. Kansas said he must have sold the parents' house to pay off the debt. Wow, that guy's parents went through a disaster. True, but they made sure they gave back the money he owes them. And they're not going to have any other kind of relationship with him. I heard they are going to cut off all ties with him. And how is he doing at work? I heard he is still working at the same workplace. It's hard to hide what has happened because it was such a big incident. People at his work know about everything, so I heard it's not very comfortable. My best friend smiled and said she's relieved that he got that punishment. I agreed with her. I laughed, I got mad, I got angry. It's been a really busy few months. I've had a lot of hard times being stuck with a jerk, but more than that, I had a lot of support from my parents. I've had a lot of encouragement and help from so many people. No matter what happened, I realized that I'm not alone. I don't know if I will ever want to get married again, or if any bad things will happen again, but I'm sure I will be fine. I will smile and do well tomorrow.